Welcome. This is India Market Open. We're taking stock of the futures and options space now. We've seen more strength on the benchmarks, and the Nifty has moved higher. And along with that, we were also seeing an increase in open interest as far as the June futures is concerned. The Bank Nifty, very similarly in moving in tandem, we've seen it move higher and in fact edging towards the mark of 50,400. We see about a near 4% increase in open interest towards longs there as well. Well, as far as the option markets are concerned, yesterday was a day of trade where we saw the Nifty hover around 23,500, 23,600. That's where we saw a lot of activity as well. But if you consider the overall open interest distribution picture at the moment on the higher end, keeping an eye on 24,000, considering the accumulation of calls there. On the lower end, watching out for 23,300, 400 and 500 puts, where we do have fairly equal amount of distribution coming in. Of course, today is also the Bank Nifty expiry. We'll be keeping an eye on the 50,500 mark because that perhaps could be a little bit of a pivot in today's day of trade. Finally, coming down to stocks, let's talk about a handful of names here. We do have longs in Alchem Laboratories and Canfin Homes, and of course unwinding or rather declines in Grasim, United Spirits and Havells. And of course, in terms of unwinding, keeping an eye on names like Trent, GMR Airports, MGL and Power Grid, looking at about a short covering. Remember, Trent, as we also have a Motilal Oswal report this morning, suggesting a further upside, 8% upside from current market levels. But on that note, let's get in an expert to see what sort of calls we have going into today's day of trade. Well, we have Shilpa Raut of Prabhudas Lilladher, who's joining us on the show. Shilpa, good morning. Thank you so much for joining in. Well, let's start off with your call on IRCTC. What is your analysis here, and how are you playing this one?
Good morning, Agam, and thank you for having me on the show. Talking about the setup for stocks, particularly in IRCTC, I believe it has a very strong strength now. And the sustenance above 1020 for the stock is quite positive, wherein you can see the move towards 1070 to 1100 also coming in. So I believe the setup is very positive and with a favorable risk-reward ratio.
Okay, that's IRCTC. And the other one is Crompton. Shilpa, what is your call here?
Crompton also, if you see from the past, 4 to 5 sessions, it has seen some steady strength in the stock, and the resistance of 420 is also now breached and sustained very strongly. So as long as we are holding 420 levels, the stock has a lot of potential to test 445 to 460 zones.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Those are two stock strategies from Shilpa based on what she is thinks that it is looking interesting. Before I shift focus back to Tamanna, once again want to very quickly take a look at the Nifty and the kind of key levels that we are keeping an eye on. Shilpa, taking your view here, what are we keeping an eye on here?
Agam, if you talk about indices, we see that Nifty and Bank Nifty both have been, showing some robust strength, but particularly since yesterday, Bank Nifty has given a breakout above 50,200 zones, which has been for quite some time a hurdle. So this sustenance here is showing some strength for the index, and particularly being the expiry also today. I believe there is a good trade for Bank Nifty. 50,500 might act as a resistance. So playing out here with a long straddle, I believe is a very nice one to go about. One can buy 50,500 put and call both the same strike. The call is trading at around 120, 125 rupees, and 50,500 put trading at around 220. So cumulative, the net outflow for you would be around 350 rupees. But I believe, one side, a sharp movement can come in for Bank Nifty today, since the consolidation phase has been over and it is showing some sort of, strength to move for another 400 to 500 points today. So any one side will benefit here. So, in that case, the trade could be very profitable.
Right, Shilpa, thank you so much for joining us and taking us through your views on the markets and also giving us a handful of trading ideas. Let's move on and in fact, talk about the Nifty and the Bank Nifty. Of course, when it comes to the Bank Nifty, today we're watching out for the 50,500 mark. There are two ways that this can play out. Now, given the fact that the implied volatilities are on the decline after last week, I reckon that there'll be a lot more participants in the markets who will be looking to perhaps buy into this falling VIX, because naturally the premiums are a lot lower. That said, of course, there is usually plenty more activity in terms of writing these options, where you tend to see a lot more participants go and write those out of the money options. So at the moment, of course, when it comes to the Bank Nifty, because of the fact that these indices have a positive bias, we're most likely to see a lot more writing around the 50,000 put. Naturally, we're still not far away from there, which is about 1% away from there. So it still becomes a little bit of a risky bet if you do, in fact, go ahead and write that one. And, we may not even expire around the 50,000 mark. We may expire at 50,100, 50,200. But through the course of the day, if we do see some amount of weakness, there's this aspect of a sudden spurt downwards, which at least some who may familiar with the option Greeks may suggest that gamma burst. Well, that may in fact lead to a substantial expansion in your option premiums, which is why a lot of traders who in fact write these options, which are further out of the money, which need to take care of and be careful about. Of course, 50,000 at the moment is the base that we're working with when it comes to the Bank Nifty, and that's something that we're going to keep an eye on in today's day of trade. On the higher end, of course, keeping an eye on the 51,000 mark, which is about a good 3% away from current market levels. So that is something that a lot of traders will potentially think about. Maybe down the week, not necessarily today. On an intraday basis, 50,000 is what we're keeping an eye on. With that, Tamanna, it's back to you.